So we're right in the middle of this peak fixed sign intensity that's been ongoing all of August, ever since that Mars-Uranus North Node conjunction. I want to talk about it. I want to lay out the dates and explore a little bit more deeply how we can navigate this fixed activation and get through this very intense period. So yeah, it's kind of rough astro weather out there. And so if you're doing great, I'm happy for you. This isn't to take out anybody's good energy or good vibe or good feel, but it's also to acknowledge that the symbolic map of the sky is quite heavy and quite intensely activated. I've talked to a number of people, both astrologers and non-astrologers, and a lot of folks out there are feeling really run down, ragged, stressed, under pressure, intensified, all kinds of difficult feelings, emotions, and sensations over the last week or two. I want to just take some time to lay out maybe the astrological cause, touch base with it. I've been talking about this all summer, so we know it's the fixed sign activation, summer 2022. But I want to dive in a little bit more deeply, kind of day by day for the next several weeks, to give you a heads up about maybe when to rest, when to do things, when to chill, when to kind of brace for impact. So I want to kick off the video by just reminding us what fixed signs can represent in astrology. Going back to two books I've quoted recently on the channel. The first is Stephen Arroyo's Chart Interpretation Handbook. And remember what Arroyo says about fixed signs. He says they represent concentrated energy gathered inward toward a center or radiating outward from a center. But the idea is that it's the kind of core of the energy, right? My body, there's the appendages that move around. This might be the mutable energy. Maybe the brain is the cardinal because it's maybe making decisions, but there's a core where the weight is and where everything's structured. The core balance, core strength, all of those things are extremely important in athletics and daily life. This is the fixed signs in terms of a bodily analogy there. And then let's go to Dr. Hand, Dr. Robert Hand. What does he say? Horoscope Symbols, excellent book. He says fixed. As we have said, the fixed signs have the function of preserving and sustaining. But fixity is not conservatism. Rather, it fulfills the need for activity to be carried on daily in a predictable and reliable manner. So again, the core, right? The core of any daily flow is that daily, predictable, reliable way that we operate. And so let's just come to the chart now. This is the chart of the moment. So I'm recording this on the 5th of August. This chart's actually going to be this evening. I'm recording this here in the morning, midway through this Scorpio moon transit. The moon fixed Scorpio with the South Node, opposing Mars in the North Node. Very close. There's that Moon-Mars opposition this weekend. And then you've got the Sun in Leo still opposing Saturn, applying to that opposition to Saturn. And so you have a grand cross in the fixed signs. You might want to just think about what happened here Thursday about 1:30 in Central Europe. The moon entered Scorpio and it will leave Scorpio Saturday 6:30. Think about these few days. What's going on with you? What's happening? Because as the moon triggers the fixed signs 2 more times in August, we're going to have a continued unfoldment of this fixed activation. When the moon comes and adds the trigger, sometimes those are the best moments to reflect upon when we're actually looking at longer term transits. Like, what does the Saturn and Aquarius transit mean for me? What does the nodal transit in Taurus and Scorpio mean for me? Well, these moons and now with Mars are perfect to understand maybe what the larger picture has been or will be. Why would a fixed grand cross be a challenge? Why are people talking to me about the challenge, struggle, stress, and difficulty they're feeling right now? So I want to turn to Antiochus of Athens from the Thesaurus, translated by Robert Schmidt, edited by Robert Hand. And there's a section in here. I love, 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 love this part of Antiochus is the Thesaurus. Section 8, concerning the contrarieties of the stars. And really what he does is, it's like that paragraph in Valence I was talking about earlier. He breaks down the energies of the planets in very simple terms. And so when we think about a time in the transiting sky with Saturn in Aquarius strong, Mars now in Taurus, and a square with the moon now triggering that Mars-Saturn square, why might people be feeling off? Well, look what Antiochus says. He says, Kronos is the master of darkness. So you've got the master of darkness, Saturn, as one of the important energies in this grand cross. He says Aries, which is Mars. Eris is the overseer of every fear and war and passion. So you have the master of darkness squaring the overseer of every war and passion and fear. So fear, darkness, war, and passion are in this martial aspect. And then the moon is mixing with Mars, squaring Saturn as well. The sun is opposing Saturn. This time is a time to put in your calendar. Every year, actually, when I prepare for the year ahead, I always look for Mars-Saturn hard aspects, and I highlight those dates. And those are dates that I really try to work around with myself and my clients, because they can be dates where there are great difficulty of the dates in the year, and we're just in the middle of one. It will end on 20 August. But so this is why the intensities and the challenges that people are feeling, part of it is just the nature of the planets that are in the Grand Cross, right? The lights, and then the Master of Darkness and the Master of Passion, War, and Fear. So now I just want to lay out the rest of this fixed activation of the summer. There's 2 more pockets after this Scorpio moon. I'm going to release this just as the Scorpio moon is coming to a close. 2 more pockets that need to be on your radar where this trigger happens with Mars and Saturn in the square. The next one that's coming is on the 10th of August. Next Wednesday, the 10th of August, about 9 p.m. in Central Europe, you have the moon entering Aquarius. And when the moon enters Aquarius, it will join and mix with Saturn, that Master of Darkness. And the moon will be in Aquarius until Friday the 12th, around the same time, around 9 p.m. It will enter Pisces. And during that time, Venus is going to enter Leo, Thursday the 11th of August. And it's inflamed there by that hot Leo energy, is opposing Saturn now, while the moon is also commingling with Saturn. And so that's the next little period I want you to be aware of. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, next week. You can see this is also when a full moon happens. And so we're locking in the syzygy energy of that full moon in Aquarius. As it comes, the full moon will be on Friday. But you can see here, moon mixing with Saturn, very close in that full moon. Syzygy, you've got Venus will be now in Leo, adding maybe some softness and maybe there's pleasure in the pain. You know, I always love the idea of the suffering for the art. You know, there is something beautiful in deep pain. The fixed activation, the cardinal cross, it really wants to push us through. If there is a portal, there's a lot of talk of Lionsgate, that 8-8 celebration that's more of a modern or a contemporary, maybe New Age holiday based on the heliacal rise of Sirius in the Giza Plateau. Lionsgate is they talk about it as a portal. I think this Grand Cross is really that kind of portal in some ways too. Portal in the sense of the real challenge, and the squares and the oppositions are pushing us into something. You know, suffering has a purpose. In my experience in my life, when I've suffered the greatest, actually I've been closest to becoming that next phase of my selfhood, because the suffering is like the purgative feature of the letting go through pain. That's not to glorify it. I mean, suffering is hard. We need love and compassion, don't get me wrong. With Venus here, we might think about the beauty in those moments of suffering. Frankly, for me, the times I've been weeping uncontrollably from true grief are some of my most happy times, in a way, just that I got to feel alive as a human being, and I knew that I was real. You know, I'm like Pinocchio, I'm a real boy, you know. I'm like breaking down and crying and weeping. I know I'm a real person, you know. So there's something about that fixed intensity. And I tell people all the time, with hard aspects between Mars and Saturn in the nativity, or Mars and Saturn on the ascendant or midheaven, there's a specialness to that kind of placement, because it deepens empathy when we confront darkness and passion and fear. Those confrontations really create a depth of character and selfhood that we don't get without these so-called malefics. Those are their great potentialities. So anyhow, Venus joins the mix. Maybe there's something pleasurable here, or some kind of softening or enjoyment, putting on music that can kind of take us away or interface with whatever you're going through, or whatever I'm going through. So you can see that chart here. Probably the most difficult syzygy of the summer, and one of the most difficult ones until eclipse season, is this full moon. The moon so close to Saturn, the moon so close to that square with Mars, and the sun very close in that mix too, obviously opposite the moon. You know, and I'll just say this here, by the way, Mercury has entered Virgo now. Thank you, Mercury. And so during this whole process, we have overseeing these fixed intensities, the powers of Mercury and Virgo. It's fast, it's visible, thinking, writing, talking, speaking, all of this stuff. I mean, getting your journal. I've been doing that. You know, just open my digital journal and I do some free writing, or try to dig into the epiphanies of the suffering and get that on paper. It's very, very helpful. Or do some visioning. You know, I'm hurting now. What would it look like if I wasn't? What do I want my life to be like? This kind of stuff. Or just writing, or just not writing, thinking. Ideally not anxiety thoughts or negative thoughts, negative self-talk, but we can use Mercury here. Play, walking, traveling, all of that mercurial is a great asset during this period. Okay, so the last phase I want to mention, and this happens right before Mars enters Gemini on 20 August, that's Saturday 20 August, you have a transit with the moon in Taurus, and the moon will be in Taurus with Mars all the way until Friday the 19th at 2 in the afternoon. The moon leaves Taurus and comes into Gemini right before Mars does the next day. The moon will enter Taurus on 17 August, which is a Wednesday, and that's about 4 in the morning. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, both next week and then the week after are these two intense moments. Maybe Thursday the peak, because all day Thursday you experience that lunar trigger. We just jump into this Taurus moon chart briefly. This will be Mars in the anaretic degree of Taurus. Sometimes that's climactic. Mars will be strong in its Egyptian term in that anaretic degree. So maybe there's some martial turning that happens as the moon triggers Mars during its stay in that anaretic degree. Yeah, it's closely square the sun. This will be the closing square of the solar lunar cycle or the lunation. And of course, Saturn is retrograde now, but still in the orb with an overcoming square to the moon as it's triggering Mars. It's the last moment where I think there'll be like a, oh, this has been tough. Oh, this Mars and Taurus. Maybe there's some finality or another pass of whatever challenge you're going through. But keep in mind, Saturday, it shifts. 2 in the afternoon, Central Europe, and the moon enters Gemini. The following day, Mars enters Gemini. And then we'll have the sun entering Virgo, then Venus enters Virgo in early September. And so by September, first week of September, Labor Day, the only thing in fixed signs are now the nodes in Saturn hanging out. And all of the planets that have activated the fixed axis over these last few weeks, it's over. It's done for now. And then we begin enjoying a whole different side of our charts and of the reality, that mutable season, which I'll be breaking down as we get to it. Let's be aware. And I want you to think about and be aware. If you've really had a tough time the last couple of weeks because of these triggers, it's July 17th, 2023, about just under a year from now, when the true nodes leave fixed signs for good, and by that time Saturn will have left Aquarius for good, and that's in early March 2023. And so just hang on, fixed signs, placements out there. If you've had some struggles and challenges in 2022, this is not an easy year. This is a really tough year of astrology. So take care, love yourself, get the comfort you need, rest as much as you need to. Try to prioritize self-care to get through this. And it's going to be shifting here late August, early September. This little pocket will be over. I hope this video can help you prep for the rest of August. Take care.